And thank you so much for joining me. Um, Dr. Judy WTF with the Freud. And tonight we're going to delve into the topic of, I'm going to make sure because I put a long title together for tonight, the shame and guilt of pulling out of a bad relationship with a narcissist. Now, what's so shameful and guilty about that? Okay, so let's start with the conclusion of why that's so shameful and guilty is because the narcissist looks so good in everybody else's eyes except for yours. So when you pull out, they think that you're such an idiot, such a horrible person, and that you don't see right, and that you're missing the wonderful qualities of this person. So you're left holding the bag. So tonight we're going to be enlightened witnesses for each other. I hope I get some call-ins, and so we can support each other in seeing straight, because when we don't see straight, what happens is we have what I refer to as a cracked lens of perception. And when our lens of perception cracks up, so do we. And we start buying into something that I call psychologic versus logic. So psychologic looks like the distortion that everything's great about this narcissist that you are shamefully leaving behind, and there's something wrong with you because you just don't get it. These individuals have great qualities and you're overlooking them, and of course that's how they want it to be. They want to impress the public with how wonderful they are and leave you hanging with how terrible you appear to everybody else. So, do you see how distorted this is, and how underhanded this is, and how this might leave you feeling shameful and guilty and wrong and so on until we mind map it and deconstruct this garbage, guilt and shame that you're carrying around within you, and find out how that was blueprinted in you in the first place. So, again, this is a call-in show, everybody. 323-524-2599. And just a little bit about the mind map. I'm going to run through it. And also, again, reminding people that my new video is out, Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. And please contact me so I could personalize your plan. Everybody is different. Everyone has a particular wound that they're dealing with or particular circumstance that they are dealing with. So let me put the package together for you so that you can incorporate the video and some help from one of our team members or just the video alone, and we'll figure out the right approach for you. The main point is that I am available to offer you a consultation so that we could figure this all out. So, a little bit about the mind map. The mind map is a pathway to healing from childhood wounds. Narcissistic abuse, of course, is the emphasis today. And if you look at panels 1, 2, and 3, this is a representation of how we have encoded the past within our psyche. So, the wounds of childhood include things like sexual abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, emotional neglect, control smothering, growing up in a family that lacked empathy, lacked the ability to really see you for who you are, encourage you for who you are, and rather concentrated on your fulfilling your parents' desires and wishes and dreams. And obviously, what happens as a result of this is that you start cracking up. So, if you look at panel 2, you can see that it is a metaphor for the cracked lens of perception. It's a metaphor for reactions and cracking up and feeling crazy and really coming apart, just like the picture shows you, your inner world. It is like I like to look at these panels as metaphors. So reactions include things like shutting down or anxiety or body symptoms. And obviously, when we are disconnected from, we're going to react to these wounds. And then ultimately, we're going to encode these wounds into horrible core beliefs like I'm not good enough, I'm not special, I'm not lovable, and the list goes on. So you see in panel 3, this is where all of the encoding happens, and it's like a DNA strand, but it's built in a haze of toxicity. So you can see the toxicity in the background, and this is the system that was not built correctly. And I want to elaborate a little bit more about that, because this is a multi-generational transmission of psychological blueprinting upon yourself that was impressed upon your parents and their parents and their parents' parents. So this is not something that was just born yesterday within you. And then, of course, when things are not built properly, what happens? Could have a view of panel 4, 5, 6 and see how everything starts to shatter. So the chaos is the blueprint gone wrong. It doesn't sustain itself, and the system starts to break down. Families start to break down. The body starts to break down. The person's finances start to break down. The entire system around the person starts to break down, maybe work environment. And this is something that is not limited only to psychological breakdowns, but it infects all aspects of life. And then when we are in chaos, of course, we don't want to be in chaos. So we prefer rather to defend against the chaos. So the defense mechanisms are meant to quell the pain, to numb the pain, and to shut down the uncomfortable feelings around the entire reaction to the childhood wounds. And these reactions or defense mechanisms, if you will, can include anything: drinking, smoking, overeating, using porn to fill in the deficits in the psyche, using anything really to distract from the pain. And that, as many of you already know, doesn't always work out. So when this doesn't work out, no matter how much you try to defend, no matter how much you try to fill what I refer to as the hole in the soul, it breaks down. And the breakdown is even worse than the chaos, because the breakdown is just that final straw. It could be a breakdown of a marriage ending in divorce. It could be the breakdown of the body ending in a physical pain that requires a lot of treatment. It could mean financial breakdown, bankruptcy, loss. So there are many ways that we break down. So what happens in the case of leaving a narcissist is that it's only so long that you can hold up the entire mask of the system that you've been involved with. Because don't forget, the narcissist presents what many refer to as the false self. So if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, your job is to make sure that that mask stays on and keeps on, and nobody should know what's behind the mask, because it's not pretty behind there. And what's in front of the mask is absolutely beautiful. It might be in the form of financial riches, nice house, nice business, nice vacations, nice car, so on. And so that's what's in the front of the mask. It could also include generosity, community service, donating money to charitable causes. And so the narcissist can actually appear very, very intact, very, very special, and very, very useful as a member of society. However, when you pull out, watch out. So that's what I want to talk about today, is pulling out of the system and watching out for the flying monkeys that are set up by the narcissist, of course, to take you down, take down your credibility, your validity, take down anything that you might experience as true for you, that of course is not going to be seen as true at all, because part of narcissism is being charming and convincing and conniving and playing the game of power and control. And so if you're not smart at the game of power and control, they can very easily enlist their flying monkey soldiers, so to speak, to echo back to you how shameful you are, how terrible you are, how you're thinking all wrong, how dare you? How dare you think that there's anything wrong with this individual? And of course, many of these individuals are in the public eye, so that's what the public sees. So we can't say that they don't see it, because maybe it's true. Maybe they do donate a lot of money to charity. Maybe they do speak kind and wise words. Maybe they do stand up in front of a podium and, um, and cast pearls of wisdom. However, something is not congruent here. And so usually what happens in these kinds of relationships is that the partner is part of the front, okay, of looking good. And once you decide that you don't want that job anymore, you start pulling out, you may have to be really strategic about that, because if you're not strategic about that, then the tactics of the narcissist can leave you broken and even financially broke. So, number one, let's talk about why you particularly would be feeling the shame and guilt. And let's go back to the blueprint of that. So oftentimes you're doing what I refer to, for years I've been referring to this as the what the Freud. So perhaps you come from a family of narcissists where you had to be part of the deception. You had to be part of holding up a mask. You had to really protect the narcissist from any kind of bad PR or exposure. And if that's how you've been groomed, then it's easy to see why you can just continue this system with the person in your life. However, over time and therapy and opening your eyes and seeing truths and many truths and having aha experiences like the kind that happens to people when they do the work, particularly the mind map work, is you can no longer close your eyes. You can no longer say that this person is wonderful and honest and kind and a giver and a light in the world. You can no longer say that. So the system begins to crack. And as the system begins to crack, you can't stay in that system any longer because it doesn't align with your growth. So if you look at panel number 8, let's go to panel number 8. Panel 8 is a representation of the system gone right. So it's kind of like a rebuild of the original bad blueprint into a healthy blueprint. So if that's you building yourself up, climbing the spiritual and psychological and health ladder, then you don't want to be on that other panel 3 ladder, which is built without the integrity and without the good DNA, the good psychological DNA to make it sustainable. So you can see that what you're really doing is you're trading in an unsustainable fake system, toxically fake system, for a sustainable, clean, and strong system. And it takes a while for you to really extricate yourself from all that toxicity, because there are going to be these forces against you. So the first step in doing so is to realize that you're not crazy. You've been made crazy. I say this several times in my book, Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect. I talk about it in my video, Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. And By the way, everyone, if you haven't grabbed a copy of my book, Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect, please do. It's available on Amazon. You can order the hard copy or you can get the free PDF copy. And I just want everybody to read it. Please read it. It's free. It's yours. And I want to psychoeducate everybody so that you can connect the dots and you don't have to be a fool to the narcissist, and you don't have to be the victim of narcissistic abuse. And eventually you can learn how to foolproof yourself against these people who lack empathy and really don't mind throwing you under the bus at all. So can you see how you're left with a bag of shame and guilt, and you're exposed as the bad guy or the bad woman for thinking badly of them? They're good at this. Okay, so this is a call-in show, everybody. Please call in 323-524-2599 and get on the couch, and we will shrink it down and figure out what the Freud you're doing in these relationships. And thanks so much for picking up the phone. And what would you like me to call you? What name?
You could call me Harry.
Perry?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for calling in. I love talking to people live as opposed to lecturing. So what the Freud is going on in your life?
Well, are we talking about the shame and guilt of pulling out of the bad relationship with the narcissist? Is that the theme
yes.
We're trying to stick to?
Yes.
Well, as far as that goes, I know that, I had to, for professional reasons and personal reasons, I had to get a restraining order against my ex-narcissist. And I was kind of shamed by some people, some mutual people, like family members and stuff. And, I had to kind of hold my tongue about the reality of the situation, And so I was kind of shamed and guilted for that, for me picking on a female, that kind of thing. And that was kind of hard. Like, yeah.
So
because I feel like I didn't have.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I felt like I really wanted to put my side of the story out there, but instead I was kind of feeling shame and guilted. But in reality, no one really knew what was going on with the narcissist and what was really going on as far as the situation was.
So what were they seeing versus what you were seeing? So how did they see this person?
Well, they saw this person as someone that maybe had some mental troubles, but overall was a good person. And, why are you doing this? And it seems like you're just trying to get back at them. And, and then I also felt the internal, I guess you could say, shame and guilt of the actions I had to take, but due to some threats to my career as well as my property and freedom and stuff, and this person kept hoovering me, so I had to, I had to do what I did.
I'm so sorry, first of all, that the lens of perception was so skewed in everybody's direction and against you, away from your reality and your truth. And sometimes when we don't have that enlightened witness on our side saying, this is sick, I'm so happy for you that you're finally seeing it, and congratulations that you're pulling out. Can't you see how much damage she's done? Can't you see the destruction of property? And somebody that's the seer. This is a real key to therapy, because if you don't have a trusted, enlightened witness, then it's easy to fall back into the psycho perception of the flying monkeys and the narcissist. And if this person is acting so strangely and so pathologically, of course a normal person would say on some level, that poor person, why aren't you helping her? Why aren't you supporting her to get better? Well, do you think it's your job to get her better?
Earlier in the relationship, I did. I thought that, during the love bombing phase, when she said, "Oh, no matter how much I tell you I hate you, just always remember how much I love you and I appreciate your compassion, your empathy, your so forth," and as a physician, and maybe because of my own codependency or childhood wounds, I was like, yes, I'll take care of her. And yeah, she may tell me she hates me and she just slapped me when she was drunk. That's not a big deal, and then the violence got worse, the humiliation, degradation, verbal, physical assaults got worse.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I just keep her, she told me in the love bombing stage, she told me that no matter that she appreciates me being there, so I'm going to be her rock. I'll be there for her. But then, of course,
So it's almost like she reinforced your tolerating her abuse and gave you brownie points for that and told you pretty much that you're such a good person for sticking by her. So now let me ask you this. Where does this system start to flip so that you start seeing that maybe your continued investment in her is going to be your demise? Where is that point? Let's call it the chaos point, or even the breakdown point, if you don't mind putting up panel number 6. This is why I love to work with the mind map, because it really connects the dots between how you've been groomed and how you end up, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But how bad did this breakdown have to get for you to say, you know what, I can't be here anymore. I can't live another day like this.
I think that the big breaking point was one night I had done everything for her that day. She was actually flying out to LA for something. And woke her up, brought her her favorite coffee, brought her gifts, gave her luggage, helped her pack, drove with her to the airport. She was driving like 120 miles an hour, which is a form of its own abuse. And she missed the flight. And then she rebooked for 6 a.m. And I took her out to dinner. And at like 3 a.m, we had just finished being intimate. And she thought that she had missed her flight, but she didn't. And so she started trashing my condo and yelling at me, throwing food all over me, all over the walls. And she threw food over in my face. And I started cleaning it up, and she got angry and threw another food in my face. And when I was wiping the food out of my eyes, she sucker punched me to the side of my head holding a metal object. And I lost consciousness. And I tried to kick her out. She said, "If you touch me, I'm going to call the cops and say that you're beating me and raping me." And neighbors were knocking on my door, and she said, if you answer the door, I'm going to tell them that you're beating me. Then this went on for like what felt like hours. And finally I left, and I went to go to my car and call the cops. And at that point, she started threatening me over text message, saying that she used to record me at night, and I divulged patient information, which was not true. But I mean, but she apparently recorded me at night, and she said she was going to ruin my career. And so I was living in fear for about 2 days straight. I didn't sleep. And then 2 days later, she apparently slept for those 2 days and then said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You did nothing wrong." And I said, "At the very least, you have to come clean up trashing my condo." And she said, "Yeah, of course I will." And then she did not. And that was kind of the beginning.
Are you surprised in hindsight that there was not one bit of her that was going to clean up on any level? On any level. So that's
in my current hindsight, no. But at the time, I never thought it would get that bad. I never ever thought, But yes, I'm, now I'm not so surprised. And the sick part is the trauma bond. There are parts of me that think maybe she can get help, maybe she can get better.
Maybe
but
she.
Yeah.
But you see, it's going to be a long road for her, because she is not able to bottom out. Now you bottomed out, but look what it took for you to bottom out. It took that crowbar to your head. Is that what you said she hit you with?
Like a metal vape pen. like a like a nicotine vaporizer,
Okay.
like kind of like a small metal pipe.
Okay.
And she hit me hard that she broke her nail bed. And I mean, when she called to apologize, I recorded her in case she tried to threaten me again. And she basically admitted to like attempted murder, saying like, I saw you and I was in a fit of rage and I just hit you as hard as I could. And she hit me in the side of the head where one punch kills comes from. It's the thinnest bone in the human body. And I lost conscious. I mean, I blacked out, you know? So I mean, I just cannot believe that level of violence and disregard for another human being's life. You know, and this is someone who'd said she would love me forever and wanted to marry me, came into my parents' house for the holidays, you know, just a
And
few months
bet
before.
you, and I bet you on some level she convinced you that there's something wrong with you for not continuing to love her and be by her side.
Actually, she actually said, you know, you should never talk to me again if you had more if you had more self-respect, you know, you
Oh,
would
that
never
was
talk to me again.
okay. That's pretty honest. But you mentioned something that I think is very significant, which is the trauma bond, which many people call being in love with the person. Okay, so let's make a distinction. What is feeling in love, which is this roller coaster ride, which is this adrenaline rush, so to speak, hits of dopamine that make you feel good after you don't feel good, versus love, which I define as caring and sharing and respecting another human being. And so everything that you've described is anti that definition and really fulfills on those little hits of dopamine. Look, you talked about being in a fight with her, and then the next thing you know, you're being intimate with her, and then she's leaving, and you know, it's the cycle of violence. You can see it now. Yes.
Yes, I can.
So if you don't mind sharing, of course, you're welcome to not share, but being that I've described these panel one wounds, physical abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence, narcissistic parents, emotional neglect, and so on, power and control, what the Freud happened to you on a causal level that blueprinted you to allow for this type of a relationship?
I think there are a couple of them. One was neglect. Um, my dad was an immigrant, and he lost his own father when he was like 12, and
That's
so he did not know how to be a dad. And you know, I was just like, if, you know, he would help me with math, but it's not like we ever played catch or he hugged me. I mean, or ever told me he loved me, you know. And my mom worked nights, so she was gone when I came home from school mostly, and there was a lot of domestic violence in my household. And looking back, I think I recognize that my ex reminded me of my mother, and so did some of my friends,
yes.
because my mother would be very verbally demeaning to my dad, and then he would react and hit her, and then she would call the cops.
So,
So my mom was very verbally demeaning. Yeah,
and
so I see some of those kind of.
who did the cops believe?
Well, I mean, if my mom had a bruise and my dad did not, the cops would believe, you know, my mom.
Okay. And also, um, law enforcement tends to believe the woman over the man just because the man is stronger and so on. I can see how that can be. So it's very scary when a woman says to you, look, if you don't shut up about this, I'm going to ruin your reputation. I'm going to tell the neighbors that you're beating me. So do you see the blackmail going on?
Yes, yes, absolutely, I do now. Yeah,
And can you connect the dots? Because this is what the mind map system is about, is not just psychoeducating, but connecting the dots, which I do either one-on-one with people or through the video, which I very carefully put together because I put together my life's work in a video so people don't have to pay me if they don't want to for one-on-one service. I just take them through the whole journey via instruction, and then they can refer to it any time in their life and see their growth, which is a beautiful thing. But you can, it's important to understand your blueprint, because if you don't understand your blueprint, everything looks chaotic. Like, why would I do that? Or why should she do that? But once you understand blueprint, then you can see that makes sense. I come from a family of domestic violence. I didn't have a father who was engaged and loving. I didn't have a mother who was either. They fought. So this is not only familiar, it's also familial. Okay? Familial. And there's a particular video that I want you to watch called "The Herder Can't Be the Healer." I think it's one of my favorite ones that I put out there. And the reason I want you to watch it is because we do what's called the what the Freud. We go back to the person that hurts us in order to finish the psychological file and heal through it. However, what do you think now that you've been through this experience, no matter how many times you cycle through, do you think that you're going to get closure with this person? Do you think that she's finally going to behave differently and get down on her hands and knees and say, "Sweetheart, I can't believe how I've been behaving. This is horrible. What can I do, if anything, to make this up for you? I have now seen the light, and I'm never going to hurt you, beat you, name call you, reject you, put you in any sort of jeopardy." What are the chances of that?
Well, when you say it like that, Dr. Judy, probably close to zero.
I think so. I'll go to Vegas with you on it. I'll bet zero. Okay, that's what I bet. Okay, and why zero? Because it's easier for a person who has numbed their heart and a person that's that injured to blame shift everything on you. Isn't it easier that it's your fault and you're crazy and you're not there for her, and then she could project all her pain onto you? Now, she could do whatever she wants, because people will do whatever they want. However, where the healing
Dr. Judy, you cut out there for a second. I'm not sure if it's just on my end.
Dr. Judy has frozen, so we'll be back momentarily. We're not going anywhere. Make sure her connection is good, so hang with us.
Okay.
healing really starts. There we go. I hope, am I back in?
Now you're back. Here we go.
Okay. I don't know where I left off.
Take two.
Thanks for hanging in there. But you see, I was saying that there's zero chance, because it's much easier for her to project and blame shift onto you. And I really want to make the point that it's not what other people do to you, it's what you do with what other people do to you. So if you continue to engage with her, if you continue to torture yourself by blaming yourself and shaming yourself for not helping her or fixing her or not being a big enough person to contain her rage and pain, okay, that's what you're doing with what she's doing. And the point of the mind map system is to identify the level of engagement that keeps you stuck in a system gone wrong. That's why it's so important to have a plan. When you do therapy or coaching or whatever you want to call it, mind map work, it's a plan. It's not just random talking and sharing and crying and that's why it's so important, because if you don't have that plan, then you don't have the insight, you don't have the aha experiences that lead to your paradigm shift out of the mess. You don't get to have that clear-sightedness, which is down there in panel number 789. See, narcissists do not know how to play the game of love and intimacy. We barely do, but for sure narcissists don't, because they're playing a game of life called power and control. And so if you look at those orbs connecting in the paradigm shift one, this is my model for synergy. Okay, you can't, how can you have synergy with this woman? What is she going to be, a light in your life? Is she going to be a +1 in your life? I don't see any bit of it. All I see is her vampiring your money, your health, your mental health, your time, trashing your property. So you see the little light in the middle of that panel? That goes dark. In the case of you plus her is not light, not at all. It's darkness. And so by disengaging, you give yourself room to connect with somebody who could be synergistic with you, who could be a 1 + 1 is greater than 2. But unless you heal your, what I refer to as the hole in the soul, you're going to invite this into your life, because you're going to keep playing the Freud and playing out the incomplete file. And we don't like to have life without closure. So we keep going back to the herder in order to heal, and it never works. Never. So that's why it's so important to pull you out of the system, so that you can heal your own wounds, so that you don't invite this back into your life and keep circling around. Because, you know, the old saying, when you keep repeating the same old thing, what's that saying? You keep repeating it, and you think you're gonna get different results. I forgot the saying, but insanity is when you do the same thing over and over again, and you expect to have different results. That's the definition of lack of closure. You keep doing it over and over and over, thinking, okay, this time I'm going to do it right. This time I'm going to transform this woman into a beautiful, feeling, caring individual who's enlightened now because of her breakdowns, and can see how she can improve her life. Well, again, you know, I'm not seeing it. I don't think you're seeing it. So time to pull out. And one thing that you really have to watch out for is her inducing you back into the system, because this is what narcissists do, is they fake they fake healing, like, oh, I'm all better now, I went to therapy, yeah, I know I hurt you, I'm ready for a new game of life, I'm ready for this clean slate. Well, really? What do they do? What do they do to self-reflect? What do they do to dig into their childhood wounds? What do they do to heal themselves? Because unless they've done all that work, you can expect the same thing. And remember, what she did to you was familiar and familial, and that's why you allowed it. Because if you came from a family that was balanced and loving and structured and intolerant of this, you wouldn't have tolerated this for a second. Understood?
I do. And Dr. Judy, one quick question on the familial part, because I think you hit the nail on the head that, you know, I saw that what happened to my dad, and I did not want to get myself arrested, especially on false allegations. But now looking back, I feel a lot of shame and guilt at myself for not defending myself, for not hitting her back, for not doing anything,
well,
you know, for just letting her abuse.
First of all, you were smart not to hit her back. That's all you need, is a big lawsuit on your hands, bruises and evidence. Okay, so that was really smart of you. I think the shame and guilt comes from the fact that you were powerless. Okay, so when we are unable to self-express, when we're not able to defend, we oftentimes swallow everything. and blame ourselves. That's why the self-expression is so important in the process of the journey. It's so important to really express the unexpressed. You couldn't do that with her. You know, who are you expressing it to? Somebody who really isn't going to grow. And one thing that I have definitely learned in my life is don't share information with somebody who cannot take it in. Waste of words. Waste of words. Because ultimately, a person with narcissistic defenses is like a wall. They cannot grow. They can't take things in. And they do not like to self-reflect or self-correct because they look at that as self-blame. So let's say I spill food all over your shirt. If I'm narcissistically defended, I would maybe say something like, "Oh, you know, I can't believe you you shook my hand, and that's why I spilt the food all over you." So, you know, I might be fooled for a second and think, "Wait a minute, did I accidentally do this? You know, what's going on?" And then a normal person will finally figure out, oh, they're just trying to blame shift this on me. So they don't have any intention of owning their own stuff because it's too painful. It's too exposing because whoever blueprinted them probably criticized the hell out of them and shamed and guilted them. So they can't take no more of that. So now it's just going to be all your fault. And then if you let them, if you're not savvy to the system gone wrong, then you'll swallow the guilt, you'll swallow the pain, and then they'll feel better because it's kind of like, here's the poison, you drink it, and I'll feel better. And the more poison you drink, the more it's off of me, away from me. And I don't care that you're sick because I don't even have empathy. So what do I care about anything that you feel? As long as I feel better and as long as I'm not blamed for it. So do you see how ugly this system is?
Yes, incredibly ugly.
Incredibly ugly, incredibly complicated, but not when you have a way of putting the dots together and really connecting it all up so that you have insight. Okay, insight is key. That's what creates these paradigm shifts. It's like, aha, I can't believe I bought into that. Aha, I can't believe that I repeated my family pattern. Wow, I can't believe that I swallowed the guilt and shame. Oh my God, I can't believe that she got away with making me feel like I'm a bad person and I should have done more for her. Okay, it's tricky. And again, unless you have somebody who's an enlightened witness and specialist in helping people heal from narcissistic abuse, then you're just not going to get those insights. You're not going to connect the dots, and then you'll just be back to square one. Panel one, wounds of childhood.
Right.
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 And so you know, in closing, I just want to say to you, do not go back. Do not go back, even if it's killing you to call her or killing you to know what's up or killing you to know, has she changed? Has she grown? Has she come to a certain remorse point within her system? I think you know the answer, but again, that ugly love bond, the toxic bond, keeps people stuck and going back for more. And in order to truly heal, you cannot self-infect. So it's kind of like if you want to heal from drugs or alcohol or smoking. I used to have a stop smoking clinic back in the day. I even wrote a book called Dr. Judy's Habit Breakers Stop Smoking Plan. It's probably still out there somewhere. I used to tell people that if they want a cigarette, they don't want one cigarette. They want the whole pack or two or three. So they're fooling themselves into thinking, oh, I can smoke a little, maybe on my birthday, maybe on New Year's, maybe on special occasions, and then I'll just put it down. And if I really want one twice a year, I'll allow myself that. Well, that is called intermittent reinforcement. And if you intermittently reinforce any habit, whether it be the habit of calling the destructive narcissist or partaking in a drug, kind of the same thing is what I'm getting at, then you don't want just a little of that person. It's kind of like Lay's potato chips, you can't just eat one, right? Okay, so you can't just have one encounter. It's going to rope you back in. And that's why the support is so important. That's why people go to Sexaholics Anonymous or Loveaholics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever their addiction is. So think of your toxic bond as a true blue addiction, because it's going to jack you up. It's going to spill all this dopamine into your system temporarily. And then bam, you're going to fall off the ladder again and be down down on the ground and stepped on. Okay, so I hope this helped you, and I hope it helped you to understand the importance of having a really, really strong healing system to get you through this, and picking the right practitioner to help you on your journey, and really researching the person that you're signing up to really lead you through the process. Because if they lack empathy, okay, I've had a lot of people on my team that are really, really smart. The people who are not on my team are not on my team because they have these defenses and they lack empathy. And when you lack empathy, you lack ethics. And that's a big part of my mind map process. Is ethics is one of those pathways to healing. You can't do that to people and pretend that you're healed, right? If you're unethically bashing them on the head or stealing their money or taking their time or whatever you're doing,
Dr. Judy, I think you might have froze again.
She froze again, so hang in there. I think we'll get her back here shortly. Great discussion tonight. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, no, thank you and Dr. Judy for having me.
Oh, I'm starting to hear her. There she is.
I'm so sorry, you guys. We're having a little technical difficulties. It's always ironic when life replicates my mind map, this healing human disconnect. And I'm always sorry when airwaves disconnect us. And you could see how any kind of disconnects creates a sort of like, what happened? Where am I? It messes with us. Okay, so I really appreciate you calling in. I hope your big takeaway is that you cannot go back into this system. Nothing is going to change. It's only going to keep breaking down into more and more chaos. Your defense mechanisms are not going to work any longer, and the blowouts will be bigger and bigger. And if this keeps going on, I would fear for your life, okay? Because that's what happens is things don't get easier. The breakdowns are harsher and harsher and harsher, because on some level, these breakdowns are an opportunity to face the music and break through. So thank you so much for calling in. And please, everybody, contact me for your personalized mind map plan, okay? And I very insistently insist that you learn the mind map for healing from narcissistic abuse, and that you get into a structured process where you can connect the dots and finally stop the what the Freud and paradigm shift into being the cause of a better outcome for your life. So one more time, if you would put the title of the video up there, and how they can contact me. And I'm happy to give people free consultations so that we could figure out the best course of action for you. Okay, so thank you, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Good night, everyone. Thank you.